Alright, back doing another fly today in our attempt to try to post flies more often. Today we're going to be doing the big Eye Clouser here. It's a high tide version of a clouser, so I already know there'll be a couple of people in the comments who say, oh, that's a gotcha fly or something. Still a clouser, you can call it a gotcha, you can really call it whatever you want. So it's a minnow pattern, it catches fish, and we'll all enjoy it. So in the vise we got a SA 220 in a size 2. We got some Daniville flat-lax nylon here. And we're just going to go ahead and start it right behind the eye of the hook. I'm going to go back about 12 wraps. And then the first thing we're going to add to this fly is going to be our dumbbells. These aren't normal dumbbells though. These are aluminum dumbbells that have a little countersink here so you can put eyes in them. And these aluminum dumbbells are very lightweight. So you can get this big eye without adding a massive amount of weight to your fly. I like making these unweighted, throwing them on the beach so that the big eyes kind of show up in the surf when there's a lot of other bait fish around. So we're going to go ahead and kind of get some helicopter wraps and X wraps on this eye so it stays in place. Here we go. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build a body behind the fly. If you wanted this fly to be much heavier, it's a great fly to do dredging offshore. So you could build up a body using some lead wrap, but we're just going to build the body using thread. So it's gonna take a little bit, takes a lot of thread, but it keeps this nice and light. So when I'm using it on the beach, it's not going to be just stuck on the bottom the entire time. So all we're going to be doing is just going down and back a few times, just slowly building a tapered body. You can make this body as thick really as you want. I tend to like a thicker body just to kind of give a little more bulkiness to the fly. You know, give it a little bit bigger profile for whatever I happen to be fishing for that day. Again, just building this nice solid little taper. And I mean, you could definitely use some different materials to help you build this this body on the backside a little quicker if you needed. Alright. So the next thing we're going to do is add some flash, and we have a strand of this Pearl Flashabou. You can get this on my site now. A hunk of this is pretty cheap on the site because we've started sourcing it ourselves. So no longer do you have to pay like $5 or $6 for your Flashabou. We're going to start it right behind the eye and just work back, making sure we keep a nice smooth body all the way back here. And then we'll just work our thread back up. And we'll just kind of do this since we're going to do some wraps. And then now we're just going to take our vise and spin it. Just palmer this right on here, trying to get one wrap right off the other. This first couple wraps, you just want to make sure they're real nice and tight so they don't go anywhere on you. And then just continue going up the shank, just nice tight wraps. And then once we get to the eyes, we're just going to figure eight a couple of times right around the eyes. I'll kind of unwind some of this just so our head's not as bulky. We'll come tie it off right at the front here. Now this Flashabou is pretty long, so you can make really 2 flies with 1 piece of Flashabou, which is really nice. So next we're going to add a little bit of Loon Flow here to the body. It just helps with the durability. You guys have definitely seen me do this with some of my other patterns. It just provides a nice little coating, so things like snook that have a nice rough mouth, they're not going to tear your fly up, and you'll be able to fish this fly and catch 50, 60 fish, or have the hook rust out long before this thing's ever going to unravel on you. Just get that coated real nice, and we'll hit it with our UV light. Make sure we hit it all around. Alright, so that's good. So now we have a nice body made. So the next thing we're going to do is just like a regular clouser, we're going to add our bucktail. So we got some white bucktail here, and we'll just pinch out a little bit. And you can decide how thick you want to make this. I typically try to keep these pretty sparse. The body does a nice job, especially for the white side of the fly, of adding a good amount of volume. So there's not really a need to have a ton of white bucktail on here. And we'll get some of our butt sections out of this. And we'll kind of measure how long you want it. And there's no right or wrong to this. I mean, you can have this, easily as ever long as you want it. I like it right about 2 hook lengths long, which means it's going to lay right about a hook length behind the eye. I'll take this and I'll cut my butts nice and flush. Do 1 loose wrap, 2 loose wraps, and pull tight. Work my way to the front here. Alright. Now we can just kind of pull some of these down out of our way. Next thing we're going to do is add a little bit more flash, because what's a minnow fly without a ton of flash in it, right? So I'm going to grab this crystal flash. Again, you guys can find our crystal flash on the site. Great stuff, and super affordable. Not the $5 or $6 crystal flash that you'll find at other places. So we'll take it, we'll kind of get it right on the front of the fly here. We'll make a little V shape going down each side of the fly, and we'll wrap back on our flash. That looks good. And then we'll just come to the back of the fly here, trying to trim it off. If you can, try to get some of these strands at like different lengths. I like to come in and just kind of cut some at different lengths so it doesn't look too flattened on the back there. So now we'll come back with our second color. I'm going to use a tan color here today, but definitely tan, chartreuse, olive, pink, blue, all good colors. You can even tie this in like black and purple if you really want to, and throw it tarpon on the beach, really whatever you want. So again, we're going to take this and kind of just get some of our butt sections out of there. Alright. And we'll measure this right up with our white. Alright. Cut off our butts. And we're going to tie this right on top of our white. And some nice tight wraps going forward here. use our bodkin to kind of spread that around the hook. Alright, now we can go and just whip finish here. And if you got any little trap fibers on the front, looks like you got one there, just hit it with your lighter and you're good to go. So the next thing I'm going to do before I finish off the head of the fly, I'm just going to add a little color on the front. Just take a marker, just kind of let some of that marker bleed right into the thread here. Then we'll take a little bit more of our Loon Flow and just coat our head. I like to do on some of these bigger flies like this, the bigger head, it's just do 2 coats of Loon Flow. So I'm going to go through once. This coat really will sink into the threads. Make sure that your thread wraps are nice and strong. And then the second coat will just be more for protection from toothy critters if you're bringing this fly, say offshore and catching, you know, kingfish or something like that with it. And a lot of saltwater fish that live offshore tend to have at least tiny teeth in their mouth. So, and we'll hit it with our UV light again. That fly is going to be about as durable as possible. So the last thing we're going to do is add the eyes to this fly. So we've got these 4mm living eyes that we saw on the site. These are the, I believe these are the earth ones. But we're going to take a little bit of Loctite gel. All we're going to do is just put a little Loctite on our dumbbell and then fit our eye inside each dumbbell. And we'll do the same on this side. It doesn't take much glue, and we're going to put some UV resin over the top of these as well. So stick it down there. You can already see that's looking really nice. And we'll take a little bit here. I've got some Loon UV Thick. My bottle's about done, but we'll add just a little bit over the top, making sure that it gets to the edges so no water is going to get under that. We'll hit one side with the UV light, and then we'll do the same thing on this side as well. Again, you don't need much of the Loon Thick here, just enough to kind of cover the eye and make sure that the resin gets to the edges right where it meets the aluminum dumbbell. And we'll hit this with our light. And that's it. That's our big Eye Clouser tied with a high tie. Great minnow pattern. I like it inshore for doing docklight snook, for doing beach snook. You know, you can definitely use it. Make it, like I said, make it heavier and use it on dredging offshore, throwing things like kingfish and striper and all those kinds of great offshore fish. So if you like it, give it a tie. We'll probably add it to the site if you guys want to buy it. And then definitely all the materials are at the site at cwflies.com. So we'd enjoy it if you guys went to the site and bought some materials. And if you would, give this video a like and a share. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see more upcoming videos. So, thanks guys. Enjoy it.